Please help me welcome John with a warm Sunrise Rotary welcome to hear the compelling life, the story of John C. NEYLAND.
Well, good morning. Thank you for having me. I was really impressed, not impressed, is probably not the best word. Hearing what your organization is about is really what I'm here to talk about. It's I wrote a book here about a year ago. After 7-8 years of having employees encourage me to write a book, I had no desire to do that. I hired a new gentleman. I relocated him here from San Diego. And our second lunch out, he goes, "John, you should write a book." So, oh God, I'll write a book then. So the title of the book is How to Live the Life You've Yet to Dream. And whether you want success, money, or happiness, don't we all want that? Don't you all want to be successful, have happiness, have money? The question is really how to do it. Some people take the best of the worst ways to get there. They put their nose to the grindstone, adopt a positive mental attitude, and push forward. And they'll probably be successful. But there's something lost in that process. Then there's others that lament yesterday's woes. This bad thing happened, that bad thing happened. This is keeping me from being happy today. Well, those poor souls don't have a chance. Me, I've had a wonderful life. I've got the children and wife, my dreams. What matters most to me, or the things that make me most satisfied, aren't the things I have. I've got the trappings of success. I've got the big house. I've got the house in Hawaii. We have a house in Kauai, Hawaii. My wife and I go there probably 3 or 4 times a year. I've got the finest of automobiles. I don't identify any of those things with happiness. Not at all. Don't need them to be happy. They don't make me happy. I learned what matters to me most at a very young age. How many of y'all remember Hawaii Five-0 with McGarrett? You see my haircut? Vitalis and the Wave, that was me right there. Well, I have a life that many people would envy, but I will tell you I had kind of a tough life. A very tough life growing up. My mom was a really bad alcoholic. And what's really bad mean? By the time I'm 7 or 8 years old, she would start getting drunk on the couch or a chair. And soon enough, her conversation would go into trying to commit suicide. I'm 9 years old trying to talk my mind into why not to do this. And my sisters as well. And then I can remember vividly at 13, she took an overdose. She was unconscious, laying between the bedroom and the bathroom. Me and my 14-year-old sister dragged my 6-foot-tall mama all the way through the house. Got her in the car. You know what I said? Looked at my sister and said, "Bae, you're older. You drive." She was 14. I was 13. Nobody had a license. So we get in the car, and I tell her, "Bae, don't go fast," because nobody has a license. And then I say, "Bae, she's not breathing. Go fast, go fast." Well, why do I say that with a smile? Why would I reflect back on that very bad experience with a smile? It has a great ending. We got there in time. To me, that's a successful story. Then there are other times, I can remember when I was probably 9 or 10 years of age, my mother would, give me just a second to pause in to exit the room. I can vividly remember at 10 years of age, my mother with a .38 pistol in her hand trying to shoot herself. And me fighting to grab the pistol out of her hand. And you know, I felt guilty in the middle of that because I was being careful not to get shot in the head. Well, here's another picture. And you know what I think of when I look at this picture? Somebody tell me what I think of. I'm the guy right there, 5 years old. Don't you see it? Nobody sees it? I had hair. I had a lot of hair. I miss that hair. This picture is very poignant to me because there's about a time at this age when me and my 6-year-old sister and my 11-year-old brother in a tight broom closet, and we're crying ferociously. And we're crying And I look up at my big sister, who I always fought with, so I still had compassion for her. But I looked up at her, and I thought, I have never seen tears like that on somebody's face. So I thought, I've got to help my sister. So I tried to man up at 5 years old, and I'm going to tell her, Bae, it's going to be okay. Well, I look up at her, and my big brother, the rock as he was, before there was a rock, I looked up, he's crying. I thought, oh my God, this is every bit as bad as I thought it was. And I'm crying now. There's nothing I can do. Why are we crying? On the other side of the door, we can hear it. My father cursing my mama. I hear a dish break. I hear a chair knocked over. I'm 53 years old today. 48 years ago, I still vividly remember the sound. My father's fist hitting my mother's face. Now, I know this is tough to hear, but there's a reason for it. So just bear through this bit of toughness. I did it. But I remember the time, the expression my mother made, feeling so horrible for my mother. And I remember knowing there's nothing I can do. That was a miserable, miserable feeling. Now, as I aged, I became 15 years of age. I came down with this order. Imagine you wake up this morning. You wake up. And your first thought is, how do I get out of this bed? Because you can't. Because to get out of bed, you have to breathe right, pray right, feel right, say it right, and get it right, and there is no getting it right. And if you get it wrong, the love of your life dies. Can you imagine? You probably can't. But that was my life. I would get out of the bed, have to walk around the bedpost. It was, by the time I got to the car, I was thoroughly exhausted. This disease became more debilitating. By the time I'm 25 years of age, I could barely move. Ended up going to a surgeon, the only surgeon in the country that did brain surgery for this. I had 2 brain surgeries. You're wide awake during the surgery. But you know who the happiest guy in that operating room was? You're looking at him. Man, I was a happy guy. Because I couldn't fight this disease. And because of the OCD, it wouldn't let me commit suicide. So I thought, you know what? Either I'm getting better or I'm dying from this surgery. I literally remember doing the Tarzan yell before they did this drill. They put a halo traction on your head, and they screw down screws into your head. But before they do that, they give you a pain shot. I'm laughing and joking to the nurse. Man, that kind of smarts, is that necessary? Well, they did that surgery, and the laughing quit at 10 to 11. There was no more humor in that room. In my lifetime before and since then, I have never experienced anything that approaches what I felt at 10 to 11. I don't really know how to describe it other than to say it was an extraordinary sense of depression and anxiety that every time they would zap me got worse. Finally, 25 minutes into it, I screamed. I said, I can't stand it anymore. And the doctor says, what's the matter? I explained to him how I was feeling. The next time they did it, I screamed as loud as I could, I can't stand it. And they turned it off. I felt no more of those feelings anymore during the rest of my time. But I was scared to death. Well, I fell asleep by 6 at night. Had to come back a month later. How many of you have ever faced a time when going into that event, you felt there was a 70% chance you wouldn't survive it? 7 out of 10 chance I'm going to die. If I go through that door, there's a 7 in 10 chance I won't live through it. That's how I felt having that second surgery. Well, I had that second surgery. It didn't go that well, but 2 years later, I was good to go. Now, along the way, I'm learning something. I've told you some pretty tough stuff. How many would agree this is a tough childhood? How many would say it's really tough? And you know what I say? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me at all today. I can't control that. What matters is how I respond to it. And buddy, I was a learner my whole life. Along the way, before I got what I'm about to share with you something that has the ability to give you a life you otherwise wouldn't have. Literally, you can do this. Now, these things were coming together. I was reflecting on, as a kid, what was important to me. And in 11th grade, I was 15 years old, and I started chemistry class in Miss Smith's class. And I looked ahead, this girl with long brown hair. She was turned around helping somebody with a chemistry problem. And it dawned on me, that's the kind of girl you'd marry. Now, what 15-year-old kid says that? Well, this one does. Well, the thing is, I saw what I wanted in my life. I saw a strong lady, a smart lady, a generous lady, a kind lady, a beautiful person. And that was the beginning of the change in my life. I came up with a process that I will share with you now that runs by every breath. I call it collective momentum. Think about what matters most to you in your world. If you put all your energy behind that, it'll move quicker, faster, and easier. If it's a ball and you put all your energy behind that ball, won't it move the quickest, fastest, and easiest when all your energy focuses on that? I call it collective momentum. Well, how do you determine what matters most to you? I've done this already once today. I start at the last 4 hours of my life. Imagine right now you have 4 hours left to live. What is most important to have occurred over your lifetime? Think about that. Every day I think about this. And I pursue this with a passion. I learned in myself that I want to be the kind of daddy I'd like to have had. It's that very bad thing I had as a kid. Every time I'm a great dad, I feel all the better. I want to be the kind of spouse I'd like to have had. And I better have left this world helping hundreds of thousands of people have a life they otherwise wouldn't have. So now we know what our goal is, right? Our ball, our collective momentum ball. We know how to focus our passion there. But you're going to run into forks in the road. So how do you navigate those? Do you go left? Do you go right? Because it matters. I call these pivots, navigating pivots. Now, due to our short time today, I'm not going to be able to give you an in-depth dissertation on this, but hopefully you'll get enough to have a takeaway as to how this works. But I think one of the most important pivots is courage. Absolutely. We are all taught to fear, aren't we? Turn on the news. Tell me we're not taught to fear. What we need to be taught is courage. Courage is going forward in the face of fear. Well, I had an encounter with courage in 7th grade. I was 12 years old. I got my report card in Miss Francois' French class in 4th hour. I wasn't a great student, didn't want to be a great student. I made A's, B's, and C's. I didn't even study, barely did my homework. I got my report card that day, and I could not believe it. John NEYLAND had a D on his report card. It just disheveled me. I thought, oh my gosh, John, you're not that stupid. You know, it hit me hard enough in the stomach where I was willing now to turn and face this thing that had been chasing me my whole life. I said, you know what, I'm going to look you square in the face. And what was it? My daddy told us with every breath how terrible we were, how we weren't worth anything. I didn't feel good about me. So I looked at it. John, you don't feel good about you. I was embarrassed to admit it. But I sat in that class, I looked around the class, I thought, you know what? I can run faster than that boy. I'm stronger than that boy. He may be better looking than me, but I'm smarter than him. I said, man, you know what? Everybody has something. So I'm going to take control of my life here in 7th grade. And this is what I'm going to do. This summer, I'm going to tell myself the entire summer long that I'm something special. And I did it. You know when I did that? I'm not exaggerating. The hair would stand up on my arm and the back of my neck. I was embarrassed. Well, after doing that a few weeks' time, I could say it with no hair standing up on me. And I'm reading my big brother's yearbook. And everybody talks about how funny he is. I said, you know what? I'll be funny next year too. So I'd brush my teeth in the morning, you're something special, you're something special. And I said, when I get in 8th grade, I'm going to bust my fanny, do all my homework, I'm making straight A's. But I did make straight A's. I made 4 A's and 3 B's. But it was my absolute best. It changed my life. It was a momentum changer for me going forward. Well, how would each of us apply that? Think about courage in the workplace. Have you ever been around a group of people that are saying things they shouldn't say about other people? Have you ever done that? Ever been in a group? They're putting somebody else down? Have you ever sat silent when they did that, when you disagreed? Maybe have the courage to speak up against it. Or if you're a business owner like myself, maybe you want to open another branch and you're afraid to do that. Maybe you have a newspaper that you want to do something different than newspaper. And you get all the reasons to do it in place, right? But the only thing holding you back is what? Fear. That's when courage can be your benefit. Courage, I think in all my life, courage is the one attribute. If I could only have one, the one I would have. My sister, Carrie, who was 6 years old in the closet, graduated from Broadmoor High School with a really high grade point average. And I can remember when she told my daddy, she said, "Dad, I'm going to be a doctor." All 5 siblings were so impressed. "Man, Carrie is going to be a doctor, Dad." You know my dad said? "You can't do that." She said, "Why not, Dad?" He said, "Well, you're not smart enough and you're a woman." So what did Carrie do? Listen carefully. My dad did not do this to her. She compromised. And when she compromised, what she ended up doing was she became a nurse. A very good nurse. My mom was a nurse, a great profession. Was a fantastic nurse. But somewhere along the way in her nursing career, she decided to go back to nurse and ESTA school. And my sister Carrie went back to school. She was one of only 2 people to make a 4.0 average and graduate. Does anybody think she wasn't smart enough? But understand, she controlled the situation, nothing else. So where do we compromise in our daily lives? Maybe we compromise with our children. Maybe we compromise with our spouse. But understand, once you push that button, once you compromise, you give up. Manuel makes my suits. What if Manuel compromised on my suit? That little thing, of course, Manuel would never do that. Not inferring that. But the idea is, if you compromise on your values, I think it's a super loss. But what's occurred to me over my lifetime now, I share with you a pretty tough story that I don't think is tough. My wife has tell you that all our married life, I said I did not have a tough childhood. I had tough times, but I focused, and I remembered and I knew. And when I meet people, I have a natural need and urge to help them. So I guess it was 18 years ago, the church had in the bulletin an advertisement to help to mentor young people. And I said, I want to help somebody. And I got a young man, he was 13 years old. Went down to the East Baton Rouge Parish Court, jail, and they kind of told you what to do. And he wouldn't talk to me at first. I thought he was going to open arms. He wanted nothing to do with me. But I stayed with it, and I went to a school with him 3 times a week and helped him stay in school. And the way I did that was I made his school his job. The first month he goes to school, I said, listen, you got put in jail for stealing a bike. If you make it to school every single day the first month, you'll get a brand new bike. And he got that bike. And he earned those shoes. He earned those clothes. He graduated from 7th grade, and he got the go-kart. He still wasn't talking to me too much. I paid for him to go to a private school that he wanted to go to in the ghetto. Man, this was music to my ears. The teachers loved him. Nobody loved him. They loved my boy. Loved my boy. He's telling me some kid is picking on him. I said, whatever you do, don't pick back. Well, I get a call one day. Ashton's been arrested. I said, good gosh, what happened? He and some adult came up to school and beat up another boy on the bus. I go down to the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison. I'm disappointed with him. Now, to know, Ashton wouldn't talk to me very much at this point in time, but I get to the jail cell, and I'm looking through a piece of glass like this. This kid who is non-communicative has a tear going down his face. And I thought, good God, my heart beats 1,000,000 miles an hour. I said, his nickname is Poochie. I said, Poochie, don't you worry, buddy. I'm going to control what I can control. Remember that word. I'm going to do what I can do to help you. But now you need to do what you can help yourself. What can I do, John? I'm in jail. I said, lots you can do. What can I do? I said, do you have paper in your cell? Yeah. Do you have a writing instrument of some type? I got a pencil. Okay. Poochie, write down on a sheet of paper what you would like your life to be like. Write that down. So I go to a lot longer story of getting him out of jail. He ended up getting out of jail. He was the first member of his family to graduate from high school. I might add, to understand the problems these young children have, when he was 13, he called me, wanting to borrow some money. I said, Poochie, what do you want to borrow money for? Then I'm hungry. I took my 3 kids to Walmart with me to buy non-perishable food items. We showed up at his house in the ghetto. It wasn't his house. He was living in an abandoned house in the ghetto with a utility cord run through for power. But he ends up being the first one to graduate from in his family. Now, he told me 2 years ago, this is cool, John, you remember when I was in East Baton Rouge Parish? Yeah, Pooch, I remember. You remember that note I read? Yeah. He goes, well, look, John, my life is now just what I dreamed. Is that cool? So I have an organization called John's Dream to help people all over the country. I came into my office here about 3 months ago, and there's a very large woman that I didn't know sitting in the lobby, a 589-pound woman. And she ended up being one of my employees' sisters. And I noticed when I looked in her eyes, they just, at first I was kind of taken back by her size. But soon enough, I looked at her eyes, and they were just so dark and hopeless. I told her sister, I said, ask her if I can take her out to lunch. So the following day, she shows up to my office to go to lunch. She can't fit in my car. We go to G. Alexander. She can't fit in the booth, can't fit in the chair. She sits on a stool and eats at the edge of the table. If you go to her Facebook page or you look on John's Dream website soon, this woman's life has changed. In 6 weeks' time, her life doesn't resemble what it used to face. She wrote on there, I used to cry on the way to work, the way home from work, in the shower. Since I met John, NEYLAND don't cry at all. The second time I went to lunch, I said, Yesenia, I'd like to help you, but I'm not willing to help you if our only conversation is going to be about your weight. By the way, in 6 weeks' time, she's lost 35 pounds. But more than that, this young lady is happy. Now, the reason I have this picture up here, make sure the right one's showing. This didn't do right. Okay. About 2 weeks ago, I get a call. John, have you read Yesenia's Facebook page? And I really want you to understand this. This is about energy or the power of energy. You read her Facebook page. I read the page. She went over to Lafayette, stopped on Circle K, and while shopping, fell down. When she fell down the store, she says, the employees and the patrons laughed and jeered at me the whole time I was getting up. It took me over a minute to get up. So I'm writing a response to Facebook trying to help her feel better. When it occurs to me, these people that were laughing and jeering, there's nothing funny about you or I falling down. They've got problems too. So I said, Yesenia, I got this plan. You want to do this? Yeah, John, I want to do it. So we woke up the next morning, drove early in the morning, drove over to Circle K. When I got there, I walked in to the teller behind the cash register. I gave her my John Dreams card. I said, ma'am, I'm John NEYLAND with John's Dream. Have you ever heard of our organization? No. I said, we help people have the life they've yet to dream. Yesenia has been with us for 6 weeks. She fell down yesterday in the store, and we decided to make a pivot point out of this. And every 50 pounds she loses, we're going to take a picture. Would you like to join us? And you see in taking this picture? And look at her smile. Before we had this drive to Lafayette, if you said Circle K to Yesenia, it was a face of pain and uncomfort. If you meet Yesenia Meza, just say Circle K to her today. Say Circle K, and you see a big smile. We took that negative energy and put it into something positive. So no matter where you come from, tomorrow's not written for any of us. We all focus on what happened to us yesterday. It's ours to determine. I'm going to close with the strongest pivot point in my life. By the way, I'm going to say it one last time, I had some hair. If I could do it over again, I would appreciate it a lot more back then. But I'm running track as an AAU track kid, and AAU is the toughest track in the land. And I got beat every race, didn't compete. My last race comes up, I said, you know what? This is my last race. I can't beat anybody on this track. I know I can't. But I've never run this way, race the way Coach said. I was afraid of burn out. Today, I'm going to run it the way Coach says run it. I got my landing assignment, lane 7. Terrible lane. Didn't let it bother me. That morning, when the gun went off, runners take your mark, get set, boom, was the first time I sprinted the way I was supposed to sprint. I came out of the first corner where they should be making up the stagger. I didn't see anybody. Where are they? Where are they? I get to the point in the race where I'm supposed to slow down. They're still not there. When I crossed the line that day, it was the first and last time I ever won a race. At 14. Now I'm thinking about the story when I'm 34. I'm a contractor. I'm like my mom. I worry incessantly all day. I worry about going broke. Worry about it. So I thought about that track race. And I realized, John, you have one life. I am going to live my life like that track meet. Every single thing I do, I'm going to swing as hard as I can. I'm not going to worry about winning or losing. I wouldn't be here today in front of you had I not had these discussions myself. I wouldn't have an organization today to help people. The thing that makes my life, the thing I'm happiest about, you see that gorgeous brown-haired woman there? I knew her when I was 15 years old. That was that girl in chemistry class. Is that pretty cool? Yeah. And that's the single best decision in my life. I've got the perfect young family. I've got all that I want to have. But my mission in life is to help people. I don't ask for any pay for it. In the folders I have in front of you, you can help me help people by just giving me some feedback. Hey, what'd you think about this? Would you like to participate in this? Not to ask for your money. For those who want to help schools, I've got a plan down to help schools all around the country. I was in the toughest schools in this town. It was Starting Education Center. And we rocked the school years back, and Poochie was there. So I haven't given you as much detail as I would have we had enough time, but I will take questions. I can take a phone call at any point in time. If you have an organization that you think would like to hear my presentation, preferably a longer version of it, we'll be glad to do that. And I'll be glad to take any questions. But I will close like this. I've shared with you my momentum, shared with you my pivot points, and now I'll leave them at your doorstep. It's for you to decide what you do with them next. Thank you very much.